Let's get ready to do a yin yoga practice. First, I want to take a moment to show you some of the props that I always like to have handy. The most important to me is the canvas strap, a couple different sizes of yoga blocks, a couple different sizes of pillows, and one or two bolsters, ideally if you have two different sizes. These supports are used to allow a maximum relaxation in a restorative practice. Also, the blocks can be utilized to essentially bring the floor up closer to you. We will start in Savasana, setting our intentions for this practice. Focusing on what you want to bring into your life and what you're needing to let go of in order to create the space to allow for that shift and change. Relax into the Savasana while setting those intentions. Continue to remain in Savasana while intentionally allowing yourself to let go of all of your worries and all of your concerns. Let go of your stress from the day, from the week, the month, the entire year. Give yourself permission to be stress-free. Slowly rotate your head and neck carefully to the right, looking out over your right shoulder. Take a deep breath, and then back to neutral. Then to the left for another deep breath, and then back to neutral. Stretching out long, reach your hands overhead, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles, and then hug in your right knee. You can engage the foot, flex your heel, rotate the ankle, point your toes. Continue hugging that knee, paying close attention to the micro movements and the compression in your right hip socket. Breathe into it. Then you can reach for your strap. Get the canvas to go across the ball of your right foot before then straightening out your leg, keeping the knee slightly bent if you wish. You never want to hyperextend your knee. Always good to keep the knee softened. Maybe pull that leg slightly closer to your chest and continue to hold there. Before then swinging the leg out to your right while continuing to hold that strap for the half straddle. Hold there for a couple of deep breaths. Release and Set your strap aside while lowering your right leg back down to the mat. Hands overhead, stretch out long again, pointing the toes, rotating your ankles, maybe rotating your wrists, and then hug in your left knee. Again, you can engage the foot and ankle by flexing and pointing your toes, rotating your foot, and continue hugging your left knee tightly. And again, pay close attention to the micro movements and focus on the compression in your left hip socket. And then picking up the strap, place the canvas across the ball of your left foot, straightening out that leg, again keeping a softness in the knee, holding it there with that slight bend in your knee. Then you might want to pull the leg just a little closer to your chest. Before then swinging that left leg out to the left side with your strap for the half straddle. This is a big stretch. Hold there for several breaths. Then set your strap aside while lowering that leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight, stretching out long, arms up overhead. And then hug both knees tightly. Continue holding your right knee while lowering the left leg back down to the mat, and hold there for several breaths. Then place that right knee onto the floor or bolster across your body onto your left side for the supine twist. To the left, arms are in a T. Stay in the supine twist, keeping your drishti out over your right fingertips. You have an option to use your left hand to apply light pressure to your right knee if you wish. Enjoy this stretch, focusing on the release in the small of your back. Then slowly rotate your head to look out over the opposite direction for 2 full breaths over your left shoulder. Slowly turn the head and neck back to the right, relaxing your gaze out over your right fingertips again. And then head back to neutral. Lower the right leg back down to the floor. Hug in both of your knees together. Head and neck towards the knees, rocking and rolling. And then you can lower your right leg to the floor while continuing to hug your left knee. Hold it there for several breaths. Then move the left knee across your body to place it onto the floor or bolster onto the right side of yourself for the supine twist to the right. Arms are in a T again. Enjoy this release while keeping your gaze out over your left fingertips. And with your right hand, you can apply light pressure to the left knee at any point if you wish. Relax into this twist. Slowly turn your head to the right, looking out over your opposite shoulder. Hold for a couple of deep breaths. Then move your head and neck back towards the left. And then back to neutral. Lower the left leg back down to the mat while coming out of this twist. Stretch your arms out long overhead. And then hug both knees, stretching your neck, rotating both ankles, engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing your toes. And now we're going to get into the reclined butterfly. You may want to utilize props under your knees or thighs. Arms are down by your sides, palms facing up, surrendering to your practice. And then glide your arms out to the sides across the floor, arching them overhead in a half moon to the steeple grip, holding it there momentarily. And then glide your arms back down to your sides like butterfly wings. Hands or palms are facing up. Slowly stretching your arms out to your sides again, and then bringing them back up overhead in that half moon arch, touching the fingertips to each other in steeple grip or prayer hands, with your fingers and thumbs touching lightly. Remain in the reclined butterfly pose. Here you can remove any props you might be using before getting into a reclined tree pose. First straighten out your left leg while placing the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Hands are still overhead in prayer hands, steeple grip or yogi's choice. Hold for several breaths. Then simply switch sides by first straightening out your right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Arms can still be in prayer hands overhead or branching arms out, goalpost arms, steeple grip, however you are most comfortable. Then reach for the strap and get the canvas to go across the balls of both feet for legs up the wall. Knees can be straight or, better yet, bent slightly. You can pedal out your knees, you can rock, you can wiggle, anything you wish. Then continue to keep your left foot in the strap, keeping the canvas on the ball of your foot while you remove your right foot and place that ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. Holding that there, bending your left knee slightly is an option, or keeping it straightened, or some of each, straightening and bending. And then we'll switch out the feet, getting your right foot back into that strap, removing your left foot, placing that left foot across your right thigh for the reclining pigeon on the other side. Enjoy this stretch. And again, you have that option to bend the knee slightly, straighten it, or some of each. Then we're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. You can set your strap to the side, placing your pointer finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger over your closed eyes. Your thumbs can push onto your ear cartilage, pressing down the tragus, closing off the airway to your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, we're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. After that, get ready to turn yourself over, slowly turning to the left or to the right, and then carefully flipping yourself all the way over to lay prone onto your front side. You can rest your forehead on your hands, laying on top of each other for several breaths while we prepare for another supine twist. Come up onto your elbows and forearms into Sphinx. And then hike up your right knee out to your right side with your right arm out in front of yourself. And with your left arm, you can thread the needle, making any adjustments for this pose that you need as you get into the supine twist once again. You might want to use the bolster or prop to support your knee. You can straighten out both of your arms, trying to lay your shoulders flat on the ground, arms in the T. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply light pressure to your right knee, keeping your gaze out over the right shoulder, looking towards your right fingertips. Feel the difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into the pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also take notice of similarities along with any of those differences. When you're ready, you can come out of this twist and rest your forehead on your hands again, stacking them on top of one another for several breaths. And then bend your knees, lifting your feet into the air, and windshield wiper the feet and calves back and forth from side to side. And then slow it down before you lower your feet back down to the mat. And then come back onto your forearms and elbows and hands into the Sphinx pose again. Hike your left knee up and out on your left side. With your left arm out in front of you, thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into the supine twist again. Same as the other side. You can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T, and again, you have the option to apply a light pressure with your right hand on your left knee, keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder. Relax into this twist while again noticing any similarities and differences from the first supine twist and even just from the other side. When you are done, you can unwind and then rest your head on your hands again. This time in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper those feet and knees, loosening out your hips too. Slow it down and lower your feet back down to the mat. And send your hips back towards your feet to get into a wide knee child pose. You can use a block or a bolster or pillow to support your head or torso. We're going to hold that position, just relaxing the torso. Ragdoll the upper portion of your body. Allow gravity to do the work for you. Really lean into it. When you're done, you can remove the prop if you have one, and then come up into a tabletop position before then lowering yourself back down into the Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again, this time spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, holding that Sphinx pose tall. Before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of the mat. Reach back for your left foot with your left hand and hold this half bow pose for several breaths. Take a minute here to attempt the full bow, getting each of your feet into each of your hands. You may want to use the strap so that you can get each of your feet into either hand. However you need to, if you're able to get into the full bow shape. If it's too much, just do whatever variation you're comfortable with, knowing that your level of flexibility varies day to day. And you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself lightly, or you can remain still, or some of each. Then you're going to let go of your feet and rest your head on your hands again, one hand on top of the other, windshield wipering your feet again, loosening out those hips. And then slow it down, lower your feet back down to the mat. Then the same thing on the other side, coming back into Sphinx, stretching your hands and fingers out as wide as you can, sitting up tall, before then turning the left forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat, and reaching back with your right hand to hold your right foot, engaging in the half bow for several breaths. Just like on the other side, attempt the full bow if it's in your practice. You can use your strap, have someone spot you, whatever you need to do to support this challenge of full bow. And again, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself back and forth, or you can try to remain still, or a little bit of both. And then when letting go of your feet, lower them back down to the mat. And again, send your hips back to sit on your feet into the child's pose. This time in a regular child's pose, knees touching. While sitting on your feet, you might have your head resting on a block. Take several breaths before then walking or sliding your hands and fingers to the right edge of the mat, reaching for the upper right corner of the mat, feeling that stretch across your lower left ribs. Then hands and fingers back to neutral, sliding or walking your hands and fingers to the left edge of the mat, reaching for the upper left corner, focusing on the extension in the lower right ribs, holding that for several breaths before then gliding or walking your hands and fingers back to neutral. Really lean into it. Relaxing into the child's pose again before you slowly push your torso up by pressing your hands on the mat, coming up into hero's pose, pausing here. You may want to have a block or a support under your rear end. You can place your hands on your thighs, remaining still. Take notice of the challenges of this seemingly easy pose. And then you can get your prayer hands over heart, slowly rising your prayer hands overhead, and then lowering them back down, placing your hands back onto your thighs before coming up onto your knees into a widened stance. open your arms out wide like butterfly wings, reaching up and out, and then clasping your hands behind yourself. Get your hands and fingers into a bind and explore the limits of your flexibility with that. You can push your arms up slightly behind yourself, leaning back slightly. You might want to bend forward with your forehead on the mat and then lowering your arms and hands towards the floor over your head. Then coming back up carefully and shake out your hands and arms as you unbind them. Before then stretching your arms up and out wide again. As we get into camel pose, I like to have a bolster on the back of my ankles for this, and then I can lean back slightly with my hands on the bolster, arching the torso. You might want to have blocks, or if you're really flexible, you might just be able to hold your ankles with your hands behind yourself for that camel pose. And just explore this chest opener. And then as you come back out of this shape, you can sit back onto your feet into the hero's pose once again, laying your hands lightly on the thighs and focusing on your breath for a moment. When you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of yourself for staff pose with a stack of pillows and props on your legs. You can pile the props up so that you can ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting all the weight of your torso onto the props. Alternatively, you can use the canvas strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do the work for you. Focus on just easing your weight forward, trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you. Then when we're done, we'll remove the props and set them aside. Get your left leg stretched out long. Bring the right foot up high to the inseam of the left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathe into the stretch. Focus on relaxing into it, trusting gravity to do the work. And then come up to neutral. Get into a widened straddle stretch. Lean forward for a couple of deep, intentional breaths. And then slowly transitioning, switching it out to the other side. You can place your left foot to the inner right thigh with your right leg stretched out long, and then reaching for the right toes in that side bend with your left hand over the right hand and foot. Focus on your breath again. trusting gravity to do its magic, supporting you and keeping you safe. And then coming back up to a neutral, stretching both legs out, wide leg straddle stretch again, leaning forward, reaching out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead on blocks. You might want to have them stacked. Focus on really leaning into this, allowing the weight of your head to be fully supported if you have your forehead supported by a block. Relax into a handful of intentional breaths. Before then coming into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, allowing your knees to fall towards the floor. Sit up tall, and then mindfully bend your neck and head towards your feet before gently rising your head slowly up to neutral, imagining a string above your head, pulling it straight up in perfect posture. And then twist your head from side to side, first to the right, and then neutral, and then to the left, and back to neutral. Now you can stretch your neck down, rolling it out, small movements at first. You can turn your head back and forth like you were indicating a no. Stretch your neck diagonally, bending your head and neck from side to side. If you want, you can move your head up and down as if acknowledging a yes. And if it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction and then the full circle rotation in the other direction. Before then bringing your head up to neutral and shifting into easy pose. Touching down to the ground with your left fingertips, drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. You have an option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on the top of your head. And if you want, you can move the head and neck slightly back and forth to massage out those neck muscles. And then allow your head and neck to come back to neutral. Reaching with your right fingers towards the ground and dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. Again, with that slight pressure with the left fingertips on your skull if you wish. Moving the head and neck slightly back and forth for that gentle massage. And then back to neutral. And again, turn your head slowly from side to side, gently to the right. Hold to the left. And then back to neutral. Now we're going to bring ourselves into that wide straddle again, leaning forward. You might want to use the blocks in front of you to rest your forehead on again. We're going to remain in this stretch for an extended period. Focusing on your breath, allow your lungs to fill up like a balloon, and then methodically deflating them, completely emptying your lungs, and then refilling them once again, appreciating the oxygen traveling into your bloodstream to reach all of your muscles as you relax into the stretch. And then you can pick up a block into each of your hands, reaching over the left foot. Place each of the blocks on either side of the foot to rest your hands on, or you can reach for your toes. Allowing gravity to assist you in your efforts, making the side stretch feel almost effortless. And then pick up the blocks and place them out in front of yourself, leaning forward for a moment before then picking them back up to place them on either side of your right foot. And you can reach for your toes, or you can rest your hands on top of the blocks, breathing deep and allowing gravity to once again work its magic. Letting go of all of your stress. And then you can come back to neutral and set the blocks aside. Our next pose will be bending our right knee over our left leg, extended out straight. Twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. Right hand or fist is on the floor behind you. The arms supporting the torso. Using your left elbow to leverage on the right knee. Resting your drishti as far back as you can on that back wall. And then slowly turn your gaze to the front of the room. And again, return your gaze to the back of the room, all while continuing to leverage that left elbow on the right knee and continuing to hold for several breaths. And then coming out of the twist, simply switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg extending out straight. Your left hand or fist is on the floor behind you, gazing out over your left shoulder towards the back of the room, leveraging your right arm against the left knee. And then after a minute, slowly turn your head and gaze over the right shoulder to the front of the room. And then slowly return your drishti to the back of the room over your left shoulder again. Continue leveraging that right elbow on the left knee and then back to neutral. And then next, hold the soles of your feet together, getting into the butterfly pose once more. Pressing those knees towards the floor, sitting up tall, and slowly and carefully bending your head and neck towards your feet. Before then, again, imagining a string to be pulled from the top of your head. Gently turn your head to the right. Slowly back to neutral. And then carefully to the left. And then back to neutral. Get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, bend the right knee over the left knee that is also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. Holding each of your feet in each of your hands. You can use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice, gentle foot massage if you like, while sitting up tall. And then turn all the way to the right. The right arm is behind you, left elbow leverages against the right knee, looking towards the back of the room. Appreciate the power of this twist. Slowly turn your head to the opposite side and carefully back again, and then back to neutral. Straighten your legs out in front of yourself for staff pose. Reaching your arms out to the sides and then arching them in half moon up towards the sky. Interlacing your fingers, binding your hands, turn them outward, reaching up as tall as you can before bending forward, reaching for your toes. Notice any tightness in your back, loosening before then coming back up to neutral. And now prepare to switch legs for cow face on the other side. Your left knee stacked on top of your right bent knee. Holding your feet with each of your hands, and you can again massage the thumbs into the arches of each foot. Before then twisting to the left, right arm leveraging against the left knee. Looking over the left shoulder to the back of the room, and then slowly turn the gaze to the other side of the room, looking over the right shoulder, and slowly returning the gaze to the left shoulder to look towards the back of the room once again. And then head back to neutral. Come out of this twist, return to the staff pose, reaching arms out wide, legs out in front of yourself. Make the half moon arch, touching your hands overhead for steeple grip, reaching tall, and then leaning forward, holding your toes. Notice if you have any more tension in your back than you did just a minute ago in the same stretch. And then as you come up to neutral, you can transition into the easy pose, reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then up overhead for the half moon arch. Touching your hands together for prayer hands before getting into cactus arms, preparing for eagle arms. From cactus or goalpost arms, together with your right elbow over the left elbow, hands together, pushing elbows slightly up, bending the head and neck down. You can stay in this nice subtle stretch, or you have an option to slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head slightly back while pushing those eagle arms towards the sky. And if you do that as your arms go up, they will unpretzel, and then you can reach back out to the sides, touching hands down to the ground. Or if you're just going to reach your arms out and touch back down to the ground and then arch the arms up overhead into another half moon, touching hands together overhead, and then back to cactus, and again eagle arms with the left elbow over the right elbow this time, pushing the elbows up slightly and bending the head and neck down slightly. Again, you can stay in this nice subtle pose, or you have that option to slowly begin to look up as high as possible, leaning your head back slightly, pushing your elbows and arms up as they unpretzel again, and then stretching the arms out wide to the side, or simply stretching your arms out wide to the side and then touching the earth. And then lifting your hands back up, reaching back out wide, the half moon arch one more time.
No. Puppies, come on.
Into a steeple grip, sitting tall, and then a simple twist to each side as you lower your hands and arms down. Your right hand can go behind you, your left hand on the right knee. And then lift your right arm straight up high to cross it over the left, reaching the left knee with the right hand, left hand onto the floor behind you, before then raising that left arm straight up high, reaching over your right arm to hold your right knee, before then coming back to neutral. Hug your knees lightly in this basket shape. And then here you have an opportunity to get into the boat pose. I like to hold my hands under my legs first, before then holding the arms parallel to the ground in the more traditional boat pose. If this is in your practice, otherwise you can make any adjustment that you want, make any variety of adjustments here. You could use your strap. You might want to scissor your legs for a moment to get an additional benefit for your core strength. Scissoring your legs and feet, slowly moving your legs up and down. And then you can lay down on your back, stretching out long, before then planting both feet on the floor, knees bent. You might want to hold a block or a pillow in between your knees, possibly another on each side of yourself to allow your knees to simply fall to the right. Hold this stretch, arms in a T, focusing the gaze out over the left fingertips. Slowly rotate your head to look out the other direction over your right shoulder and right fingertips. And then back again, looking out over your left shoulder. Before then bringing the head and neck back to neutral. Bring the knees to neutral. And then allow your knees to simply fall to the left. Arms are still in a T. Gazing out over your right fingertips. Slowly, you're going to turn your head to look over the other side. Neutral. Knees back to neutral. Remove any props. Hug in both of your knees, bending your head and neck towards the knees, engaging the feet, flexing your heels, pointing your toes, rotating the ankles. And then you're going to plant both feet firmly onto the mat again. Raising your right leg straight up high, crossing your right knee over your left knee. Simply allow your legs to fall to your right. Arms are still in a T. Gazing out over your left fingertips. We're going to hold for several breaths. This is my favorite of all the twists, the grand finale. Bring your knees back up to neutral. You can uncross your legs. Hug your knees into your chest, rocking and rolling. And then firmly plant both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Lifting your left leg straight up high to cross it over the right knee. Allow the legs to simply fall to your left with your arms in the T and your gaze out over your right fingertips. Enjoy this final twist. And as you release your knees, you can bring them back up to neutral. Hug in the knees again, one more time, rocking and rolling. And then if you would like, you have an option here for the happy baby. You can rock the baby, maybe alternating, straightening and slightly bending each knee. And then as you come out of this form, you can lay flat before then reaching for a block for supported bridge. Plant both feet firmly on the mat, lift the hips, and slide a block under the small of your back on its lowest level. Relax into your supported bridge. While still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or you can do this without the strap. If you're using it, get the canvas to go across the balls of both feet, and we'll get into legs up the wall for another minute. You can walk it out, pedaling out your legs, slightly bending and straightening the knees one at a time. When you're done, you can set the strap to the side, remove the block. If it's in your practice, there's an option here for shoulder stand in the plow. Take a minute or two to do these, or yogi's choice, any stretch you would like, or feel free to get into Savasana early and we'll meet you there. You can do any modification that you wish. Should you be in the shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes tall, scissor your legs long, or any movements that you're inclined to do before transitioning into the plow. And then as you're coming out of the plow, slow and controlled with your chin tucked, try to roll one vertebrae at a time down onto the mat to relax into Savasana. Remember the intentions you set at the beginning of this practice. And thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on yourself and your well-being. So we bring our awareness back into the room, back into our bodies. You can either roll to one side or the other before then slowly and carefully pushing yourself to sit up. Or if it's comfortable for you, there's an option to slightly with your chin tucked, come up onto both elbows straight behind yourself, slightly rocking, straightening your arms out behind you, transitioning into easy pose. Either way, we will meet in easy pose. Place your left hand on the right knee, the right hand on the floor behind you, lightly twisting to the right, lifting your right arm up straight into the air, crossing over your right arm over your left arm, right hand onto the left knee, arms crossed, and then reaching your left hand behind you for a light twist, and then lifting that left arm up and over the right arm to then hold onto your right knee before then lightly hugging yourself into that basket shape again. And then hug your knees in as tightly as you can, making yourself into as small of a seed or ball as you are able, constricting yourself to take up as little space as possible, before then releasing and stretching your arms up, out, wide to the sides into a star shape. And then placing each hand onto each of your knees, touching the pointer fingers to the thumbs, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. We will chant Om 3 times in a low pitch on the exhale. And then stretch your arms out wide again for that half moon arch, bringing the arms up overhead into prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or your knuckles to your third eye on the way to hands to heart. Reaching the arms out wide to the side once more for one last half moon arch. Prayer hands overhead, slowly lowering prayer hands over heart, and then bowing to close and seal this practice. And so it is. Thank you for practicing with me today. Be well and enjoy a very blessed rest of your day. And drink your water.